What the fuck? Episode 2, Beanies in Summer. We're on a roll now. This is our second one. Beanies in Summer is where we sit around and talk about things that perplex us and try to find solutions for it. We're just a couple everyday guys trying to figure out the answers to the world. What do you say, guys? I'm here with Francito. Hi, Francis.
Hey.
My name is Rich, and there's another guy here with us.
Polo. Projecting my voice.
He's Polo. He's Polo. Now, this is episode 2, and we're still trying to figure out what the hell we're doing with this thing. We have no idea. We're not celebrities. We're not legends. Not yet. Right? We're just doing this for the hell of it because it needs it, right?
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
We have ideas. Everybody else has ideas, but we're just going to try to record our ideas and see if anybody else agrees with them. You know, I actually wrote something down. They kind of like maybe like I don't know if it's quite of a mission statement, but kind of like a description of this. You want me to read it?
Read it.
Should I read it in the recording? Well, you can delete it if it's no good. Okay. Here's what I think describes us, and then maybe is a little bit of a mission statement. What do you have to say?
Just so you know, I don't want to do any edits.
Huh?
I don't want to do any edits. So just say what you need to say, and I'm going to keep rolling.
Okay. So we're basically just everyday guys with above average intelligence, except for Francis.
I question that about myself sometimes.
I don't. I don't question that about myself. Who are perplexed by a chaotic, disorganized society that acts like one giant teenager with ADD and severe memory, social skills, executive functioning, logic, reasoning, and problem-solving disabilities. We believe that well-known celebrities with podcasts and talk show hosts are not the only place for people like us to find competent conversation or like-minded folks who present a good tension and frustration release by simply hearing their viewpoints. We're the friends you talk to in the car, at the gym, on the job, on a fishing trip, or wherever you find yourself with those one or two friends you can simply be you with and hold none of your opinions, viewpoints, gripes, or complaints back. When those people are unavailable, we are here. We're a brainstorming think tank discussing, dissecting, and commenting on everyday experiences that we all share, as well as newsworthy cultural phenomenon as needed. Click.
Wow, man.
What do you think of that?
Oh, yeah.
That just came to me while I was sitting there eating my salad today when I got home.
Sounds like a legal notice that should be heard on every episode.
Doesn't it? We're like, that's our legal notice. That maybe that's how we open each episode, and then we can go, okay, are we good now? Like we move on?
Yeah, I think that's...
Should we get a lawyer?
No,
What'd you think of that, though?
I think that's the opening.
I just kind of came to my head, and I was like, well, I got to write something down just so we have some sort of like a description to go by or mission statement.
Yeah, I say you read that at the top of every episode.
Really?
Yeah.
All of that?
Well, until we get tired of it.
Well, does it always have to be me?
Yes. You should get like a sexy girl's voice to do it, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd be funny to get somebody who's got a reading disability to do it.
That would take the whole hour, though.
I know, it'd be hilarious,
the podcast is over. It's just
But that would be easy episode. Be like, here, just record this.
And then we have to prompt every word that they get wrong. Like, jeez, man.
It'd be funny. Why not?
That'll be an episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
Recording the intro.
And then that'll be every intro. And every intro would be that.
It's like an hour-long intro, man. It's just...
So anyway, we have our, like we said in episode 1, as of now, the way we do things, we have a bunch of ideas on the game board. And we just start talking, right? And this is the way we feel is the best way to start doing this anyway. And we have some we have some ideas up there still from last time and a couple of new ones. I'm actually more interested in some of the new ones, but whatever. So I'm going to toss it over to Francis because Francis gets to pick this one. Are you okay with that? Polo.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
All right, Francito.
What's up with the bullying?
Bully.
Well, as you know, bullying is big out there, and anti-bullying is big, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, all over the place. It's pervasive in this society. We've had movies about it. This is actually, I don't know if you know this, October is a big month, not only for breast cancer awareness, with everybody wearing pink. You know about this, right? October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yep.
Great cause, right? It's very good. In fact, in Pittsburgh, where I'm from, there is a big fountain downtown, and they actually dye it pink during October. It's actually pretty cool. And it has pink water. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Also, NFL players, they all wear it pink. Baseball players, all the I don't know if NBA does or not. All
Yeah,
that
they do.
pink
They
stuff.
wear like pink socks.
Yeah, all that pink stuff.
Pink
Because it's
headbands.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I don't think anybody probably knows. I don't think there's anybody out there who doesn't know somebody who's been affected by breast cancer. I'm sure I have. I know I have. Have you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My
So,
aunt, my aunt has it.
Yeah. My aunt had it. She actually was able to have it taken care of early, but I know other people who had died from it. So it affects lots and lots and lots of people. But anyway, October, besides being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, is also Bully Awareness Month, or Anti-Bully Month, however you want to put it. And something came to my mind about bullying. I think they get a bad rep.
Wait.
What?
In addition to the pink thing,
Yeah.
I think this bullying event, you have to wear orange or something.
That's correct.
You know, wear orange.
Orange is the color of bullies
Orange,
for some reason.
Yeah. What the hell is that about?
I don't know why it needs a color.
Orange.
Orange jumpsuits.
Like as in prisoners?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, yeah, it almost like it almost.
Wait, are they being bullied or are they the bullier?
Or you dressing like the bully?
What is happening
Yeah,
here?
that's interesting. Why is it got to be orange?
Orange.
That's
Orange.
kind of I don't know. Anyway, see, the thing about bullying, I think when you talk about a bully, this evil image is produced, right? There's this image of some evil person, the devil, this bad thing, this bad person who's out to get you and out to hurt you and harm you. And I guess that is that's what a bully does. But when you talk about being anti-bully, at whatever age, I know there's people, of course kids get bullied, and it is, it sucks for kids that get bullied. It sucks for anybody who gets bullied. Adults get bullied. But there is a reason a person bullies, right? I mean, if you were to go and analyze somebody who does these bullying things, there's a reason they do it.
Are you talking about true bullying? Or are you talking about what they interpret as bullying now?
True bullying.
Okay.
True bullying.
Yes.
There's a reason these people don't, and the reason is not because of evil. 99% of the time, probably. Okay. Something's happened to that person, right? Something has happened. Something's happening at home. Something has happened in their past. Something has happened that day, whatever it was, you know what I mean? And their only release is to do something like bully somebody. And not that shouldn't be stopped, but I think rather than helping that person, we give that person a stigma. They're bad. And to me, it's similar. It's an, I don't want to call it like an illness that they have, but it's something that needs to be addressed. Okay, if they were abused at home, let's say when they were a kid, or currently by a parent, a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, they act that out, right? And that problem needs to be addressed. When you strictly just say, get that bully, stop the bully, stop that, you're not addressing the problem. Do you see what I mean? That would be just like saying, get that alcoholic, get that person who drinks. You know what I mean? That's an illness too. There's a reason somebody drinks. There's a reason why somebody finds solace in alcohol. You know, there's something that they get from it, a satisfaction or something that addresses some problem that they have. And that's, to me, what bullying is. I don't see it as an evil, although evil things come from it. But I think there needs to be more than just don't do that, you mean person. You see what I mean? It would be the equivalent of saying stop that alcoholic. He's bad. You know, when there's more to it than that. Yes, bad things come from alcohol. Bad things come from people who abuse alcohol to themselves and to others. But it's not. If you just say stop that guy from drinking, stop that alcoholic, it's not addressing the problem. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, but if the bully isn't called out on what he's doing, or if he isn't retaliated against, how do you know that? Like, could that be the trigger point for a new direction, for him to see the light, so to speak, or you just? I mean, how are you proposing that it be handled?
Well, the person needs to understand that that's what they're doing. What they're doing is a form of bullying. They need to be aware that whatever it is they do.
So in a way, you're saying don't bully the bully.
Correct. I think it's basically doing the same thing back to somebody who's. But a lot of times, a bully they're not aware of it. So you know what I mean? They're not necessarily aware of their behavior being perceived as being as a bully. You know, I mean, obviously, if they're going around kicking somebody's ass,
if it gets physical, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. But a lot of times, it's not always physical, and I don't know the statistics off the top of my head of how much bullying is physical bullying, but there's probably a lot more words mentally bullying people more than physical, just like going around pushing people around and beating them up. You know, I mean, that's like you said, it's a no-brainer, but that person needs to be called out, obviously, and stopped. Usually, because that's a no-brainer, that's pretty simple to step in and intervene on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the things that they say, the things that they do, sometimes they're not aware of that. They need to be first. I think they need to be. It needs to come to their attention. And then, some sort of intervention needs to happen there, but not just let's gang up on that bully and tell him everything he says is bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's there's something there that needs to be understood too.
Yeah. And I want to add to that too. What you're saying is not only address the bully, but also give some strategies to the victim as well to recover or compensate or to take care of themselves when they come across that, and rather than just keep addressing the bully themselves and punish or give them consequence or whatever. Like, there's got to be some sort of strategy for the person being bullied to pull themselves out.
Because if not this person, what if there's the next bully? They need to have basically you're talking about giving them tools to cope.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
There was a movie called Bully, came out about 4 years ago, and it followed a bunch of kids around, and I think one or two of them had committed suicide or something like that because they were being bullied. And the whole movie, the message that I got from it was exactly kind of that. It was, don't find a way for the victim to kind of help themselves out of it. It was, stop that bully. But the bully doesn't stop, so we got to do more to stop that bully. But it wasn't. There wasn't. It was like, call the cops, call the parents, do this, do that. But it wasn't addressing the problem. It was always kind of like a stopgap kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And at the same time, there was nothing. It was the victims were just kind of told no, or they had no help and no strategies to kind of avoid the bullying as much as possible,
or deal
other
with
than
it.
go to somebody, go tell, you know what I mean? That's all it was. There was no strategies to deal with it, or kind of like defend themselves if they needed to, so
I think that's a critical part, learning how to defend yourself, learning how to cope. I mean, especially as somebody who's really young, who may not have the capacity to work it out themselves. I think that could be a strong, factor in kind of just helping
the outcome. Yeah,
and the outcome, helping them, because if they're not going to have the tools to know how to deal with themselves,
and when it is physical,
yeah,
one of the things they do need to do is hit back,
teach them jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, You can't constantly find somebody to intervene for you and do that work for you. It's not
Or at
gonna
least
always-
know how to run.
Yeah.
Run away.
Or like we talked about before, watch the movie Revenge of the Nerds. That's a response to bullying. You know what I mean? Remember that?
That's true. I mean, they use their so-called weaknesses and flaws, and then
Yeah.
used it as strengths.
Yeah.
To
What they used what they were being bullied for.
yeah.
To win, in the end. So there's just this thing out there where bullying, and unfortunately, it's almost like some of the narrative is, if you don't watch out on all these bullies, more kids are going to commit suicide. You know what I mean? That's almost like some of the messages you get. Like that movie, it talked about kids. I mean, it was so sad. All these kids are committing suicide because they're getting bullies. Oh my God, man. Bullies, look what they do, man. They make you commit suicide.
Yeah, and then
Like, what the fuck? No, that's not the only way to deal with this shit. Not to mention, I doubt there's anybody who's committing suicide solely because they were bullied.
Yeah.
There's other shit going on there too.
Or it's the opposite of what the outcome that you wanted to have, which is what you're saying. Like, because there's that message being brought out, and there are kids out there that think like, yeah, that's right. I have no other way out except to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's fair to say that's not the only thing going on. What if they are just a young, emotionally or psychologically weak person, and that's really all it takes?
Well, that's what's going on.
No, so what I'm saying though is that if it is, because you said that it's not the only thing.
Okay.
Like if somebody kills himself just on that, well, what if it is somebody who is extraordinarily fragile, and that is so overwhelming because of peer pressure and especially being...
Okay, we all went to school. We've all been through kindergarten through 12th grade and so on. I'm sure we've all known some pretty psychologically weak people in our time. I can think of... I can pull out a few in my histories.
Yeah.
None of them committed suicide.
Yeah, but...
And some of them were bullied. You know what I mean? Like there's...
Yeah, but not... I'm saying not every situation... You can't base... You're basically generalizing. And there could be... It might be a small
but this
percentage.
whole thing is generalization too.
Yeah.
It's all like, bullies, man, they're going to make you commit suicide.
No,
Like, that's
your
really
point's
what it all
taken.
comes down to.
Your point's taken.
Yeah.
I was just responding to the fact that you said, well, nobody's just going to kill themselves over just a bullying situation.
I think it's pretty damn rare if somebody's just
yeah,
being bullied.
maybe.
I mean, I know that there are people who react to things like a breakup, and then they go and kill themselves out of some stupid impulse.
There you go. That's
So
what I'm saying.
yeah, okay.
That's what I mean. There's always
I can see that. I can see that too. But typically, when you hear that there's a story about somebody who's been bullied and kills themselves, it's because it's happened over and over again. It's a repeated thing. It's never usually like that one time. I mean, if it is a one-time thing, usually there's some complete humiliation that goes along with it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh, if that's what you mean, then yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But
I just meant like if it's just the situation of the bullying, like that could be enough to somebody who's really weak. Doesn't mean. But if you're talking about just like bullying one time, all right, okay, that's probably not going to be very common. Point taken.
I don't know. I'm no expert, obviously. I don't do the studies on this stuff, but
you have an opinion.
I have an opinion because we've all lived a life. And we've all have experience. We all know people. You know what I mean? I don't need to go and read all this research to know what I know. I mean, to know what I've seen and know what I've experienced. I've been bullied. We've all been bullied at some point. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it doesn't all just come down to what's on paper, and that's what annoys me about this crap.
Yeah. No, point taken. It's being addressed, at least publicly or in the media, one way.
Yeah.
And it really should be looked at for
yeah. I don't necessarily I just don't think it's evil that's doing the job.
Yeah.
No,
point taken.
So, anyway, that's what I had to say about that. That was my thing. I don't know if it was necessarily a rant, but it was just something I actually thought of about a year ago before, and then like just wrote it down and came up again. So, all right, let's move on. Let's not do it like we did in the first episode. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah, I like this.
Polo.
Switching from topic to topic is good.
And we don't have to necessarily just switch like this. We can actually roll into another topic, but that was a good closure for that topic. Let's go on to something different.
All right. You got
Spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel. Is it my turn?
Your turn.
My turn. Sure. All right. I think his name is Preacher Joe. Have you guys heard of him? He's this preacher. He's on TV.
No.
He's one of those.
Well, what's our
TV
topic? Is this a topic up here?
Yeah, millionaire preachers.
Oh, okay, millionaire preachers.
Millionaire
Preacher
preachers,
Joe?
yeah.
No, I don't know.
He's that preacher that I think he owns that, or not owns, but he's the preacher for that church in Houston, where
Oh yeah, that dude.
when the floods were happening, and then they wouldn't open the church to kind of shelter some people
Yeah.
that really needed it, and he's supposedly super rich. Hey, have you guys ever seen? You guys have never seen this guy?
I think I know who you're
I've
talking
seen
about.
him a few times.
Can you pull him up?
Talking about
Yeah.
Houston?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard the
I
story.
think his name is Joe.
I
Preacher
heard
Joe.
the story. He apparently has. Didn't he like convert the old arena or something like that to a church?
I think so.
I
yeah.
heard the story about that. I don't know what he looks
Joel.
like.
Preacher Joel.
Joel.
There you go. If you ever watch this guy on TV, I mean, he blinks a lot.
Is that a tell for something?
He just blinks. He just blinks all the time. He's constantly.
Is it a tell
blinking.
for something? Do you think, or you think it's just like a nervous twitch?
I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, he's just one of those guys. If you have some sort of sense, you just look at him talk. You're always questioning, like, is this guy really? Is he bullshitting me, or
He
is
looks like a Muppet.
He looks like a shyster. That's what he looks like. He's like the classic
wasn't-
look of a shyster.
Wasn't there some Muppet with like big, giant, white, straight teeth? Yeah, that's what he looks like to me. With that Joel
Preacher Joel.
Osteen?
Osteen.
Osteen.
Yeah.
He's young.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it just one of those dudes like the same kind of dudes like that we saw in the '80s, or some of those guys like Jim Baker? Remember that
Jim
guy,
Baker. Yeah, all those guys.
Yeah, all those guys.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of other ones too.
Yeah. I
Is
don't
he
even,
the same
I don't even
thing?
recall what
Just
the
the televangelist kind of guy?
televangelist. There you go.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
term
yeah.
for it. Yes. I mean, look at him. See, look at all the blinking.
Uh,
Like, I mean, if this guy was talking and he's trying to get me to give him some money,
yeah, he's got a whole.
I'd just be
arena full
like,
of
hey,
people.
no thanks, man.
Well, so what's going on with this guy? What do you?
All right. Anyways, I mean, look at his congregation. There's a lot of people there, correct? I mean, he's obviously got a lot of money as well. He lives in a very nice house.
As do all churches.
Yeah, and then there's all this stuff in the media about like, oh, these millionaire preachers, shame on them. I think the opposite. I think good for them.
Sure.
Yeah, good for
It's a
them.
business.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously I don't know why for some reason, but he's convinced so many people to donate to this church or fund it somehow that he lives he lives pretty well, and I just don't get why criticize him? Why not target more the people that feed into this and enable this to
Well,
happen? Why
Wait, are you talking about a specific criticism? Because when it came to the hurricane, I mean I didn't read too much into it. I basically just heard some brief headlines about there was some either delay or resistance of some kind in opening up the church for shelter.
Yes, yeah. I mean that's the criticism that he got, but why? I don't think he deserves it. Why would you expect anything more from him? It's.
I don't know about that. I think if we're talking about a crisis of the magnitude of many people being homeless because of a natural disaster, and there's a very large shelter that could be opened. It's almost like anything. If you had a large stadium, a large arena, it just happens to be a church. It just happens to be anything.
Oh, and he has the ways and the means to help.
Yeah, he has the ways and the means to help. It's not this goes beyond being about about religion or anything. We're talking about
Well, and that's the other big thing, the religion, and everybody associates with religion with love your brother, love your neighbor, help each other, do God's work, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably
that adds a little bit of
that adds a little when it's a disaster. I guess supposedly created by God, right? Like a hurricane, then would you be there doing God's work and helping others, or should you be there?
So so you're
if
saying,
you have the ways and means.
yeah, so, just so I understand, so I'm not picking taking a stance on some side in my head that you're not the point you're trying to make. Polo, is it he should not have been criticized for not opening up his church sooner?
No, my point is that you can't expect anything more out of these people. You know, they only have their success because there's a lot of people that are suckers and they buy into this.
But
This guy, I mean, if you can't identify the fact that this guy isn't about, helping others,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then, you're a sucker.
How can you be shocked
Yes, how can you be shocked
that this
that
guy
he
is
didn't do
not-
that?
when
Yes,
he bilks people out all that money
yes, that's my
every
point.
day on a weekly basis?
Yes.
but I think
Yeah.
that's
what's so shocking about
What's
it?
so shocking about his actions?
Right.
Yeah.
But
That's my
I
point.
think there could be. I mean, I can't really speak for all these people criticizing him, but it sounds like this is the perfect opportunity to call him out on it. Then, to basically to call him out on the fact that, hey, if he's a man of God and there's this natural disaster and so many people are in need, if you truly were, for the best interest of humanity and God's people, wouldn't you have been able to have that open sooner? If he didn't, if for whatever reason he didn't, delayed or whatever the true story was, I think the criticism is they're taking advantage of this to call him out and possibly expose that, hey, he's not the good person that other people think he is.
I agree with you, but I think it's more. I think it's actually a situation where we should call the people out that are supporting these kind of preachers, these televangelists. It's an opportunity to call the people that support that out, rather than just the televangelists themselves, because they wouldn't be around if there aren't that many people supporting it.
Well,
It's a chance to point it out, like, hey, look how stupid you are.
Yeah, but I
here's
mean-
this guy that you're, supporting or watching every weekend, donating money to. See.
But do you have a problem with him being a millionaire, getting wealthy out like this? Because I don't.
No. Like I,
mean,
said, it's
to
not
me- to
like
me
my
it's-
point is it's like why it's the people that need to be.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole kind of. I mean, you can say that about anybody, any consumer of any kind of, movies. Let's say, look how actors and directors how they live. It's all because you go and see a movie. You go and pay to see a movie. You know what I mean? And then they're just simply actors. I mean, you hear this argument a lot. They're nothing but an actor. All they do is but they got millions of dollars and all this stuff for what they do. Well, you go and see it. You pay them. It's the same argument as with this guy.
Yeah, but I'm willing to admit that. I'm willing to say, yeah,
Right. Well,
that's
These people don't even realize it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah.
Well, whatever. I mean, I'm. Look, we live in a capitalistic society. If you can make it wealthy, if you can make millions of dollars, whatever he does, I don't know if he spreads the word of God or whatever, and getting people to donate to you, and he's got obviously a giant freaking church. Well, that's
look at that.
That's an arena. I think I heard
huge.
I think what I heard is the old. What's the Houston basketball team?
The Rockets.
The Rockets. Their old arena. I heard that that's it. That's their old arena, and he remodeled it for his church.
That's what I mean. Good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
why?
I mean, somebody got rich off the pet turd. Somebody got rich off the pet rock. You know what I mean?
Chia Pet too.
Chia
right?
pet.
Yeah,
I mean,
Chia
what
Pet.
dude? You're able to do it in this country, so I don't have a problem with that. I do think that if you have the ways and means to help somebody in a natural disaster when your whole city's underwater, I would say that he probably should have helped out. Yeah, sure.
Of course, of course.
But,
I mean,
right? Am I shocked?
No, you shouldn't be shocked that he
I am not
didn't
shocked.
do that.
I wasn't shocked in the beginning. I'm not shocked now. I'm actually like, well, yeah. Are you surprised? You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And I'm not going to
Come
be
on,
shocked
please.
that he'll continue to have millions of followers.
And I'm not angry
Yeah.
either that he didn't help. I mean, the dude is a typical businessman, probably. You know what I mean? A typical, very wealthy businessman.
I'm
He's about his bottom line.
I'm a bit annoyed. there's no reason to be a douchebag.
But he is a douchebag.
That's
Yes,
true.
Yes, he is he's a douchebag. But it's just like, okay, I mean, if he's sitting on this resource, this shelter, and
Look.
and it's like, and he's closing his doors, and all these people need it. I think it's reasonable to say, you know what, you're a douchebag, and I don't have to sit here and go, oh, yeah, he's a businessman. I'm with him. I don't have to side with him like
I'm
that.
not saying I'm with him. I'm just saying, yes, he's a douchebag, but people are douchebags too for supporting that
absolutely.
douchebag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a bigger douchebag. It doesn't take much to see that this dude. We don't even have a sound on. I'm looking at that going, that guy would not get a cent out of me.
Right? The whole blinking thing, right? Just,
Nothing about this looks. Nothing about this looks like anything.
Polo stuck on
Look,
his link.
blinking.
Why the fuck would I want to be in a giant
Look at him.
arena?
I can't get over his eyes. It's just every time he moves and talks, he blinks like 100 times.
No, I know when you talk to certain people, yeah, it's something that
It's
you
a
catch
tell.
too. It's like
It's a tell.
Yeah.
They're lying. It's a tell that he's lying. But why the fuck? I mean, whenever they pan out, you see this entire arena. Why the fuck would I want to be in an entire sold out arena as if it's a concert with one dude standing up on stage talking this shit?
you just haven't found
If
God.
it was somebody like Chris Rock or something like that, somebody telling good jokes or something like that, it might be a different thing. Look at that. That looks so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Look how boring that looks, man.
it's
Why would
their-
this guy would not get a cent out of me?
He's reading their favorite book,
Because those people are
comedy book?
feeling saved.
It is a comedy. I guess that's
It's
a
a
good
fairy
comedy.
tale?
It's a good fairy tale, yeah.
Oh, man. We're going to get ostracized.
Whatever. Good. By who? These douchebags?
That's
Good.
true, yeah.
Go after him for help then next time there's another hurricane. At least it's a diverse crowd,
And that's true.
right?
Yeah.
He's done that. He's got that. He's got a whole crowd of diverse people who aren't fighting with each other. So there's something good.
Suckers are born in every which way.
What was it? What was it? P.T. Barnum said that. There's a sucker born every minute, and then he said something else like, and then there's a businessman ready to capitalize on it. Something like that.
Was
You never
that-
heard that before?
Yeah,
There's
I
a
just
fool
don't know
or
who
a
said
sucker
it.
born. I don't know what the exact quote is, but that's out there. Anyway, are we done?
Yeah. Millionaires. Preachers.
Whatever it takes, man.
Yeah. All right. What's next on the board?
Pick something.
Your choice.
I think I want to go something when it wasn't on the board, or that's not on the board. I did put something new on the board, but I think it's a little too easy. We could do that later. I had a conversation with somebody today. I was talking with somebody, not about anything in particular. It was just talk. And this person is married to somebody. I'm just going to give this backstory. This person is married to somebody who's got slight amount of wealth because of his job. And during our conversation, we were talking about our job and how it doesn't have quite the same benefits as other places, particularly pension? Like we don't have a pension.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, yeah, we don't have that, but that means you just have to kind of take care of it yourself because a lot of places don't really have pensions anymore. That's kind of a thing of the past for the most part, except for government jobs and whatever few other places. I was like, you just got to take care of yourself. You're gonna have to. And she's like, well, my husband has stock and whatever. I live paycheck to paycheck and blah blah blah. I tried to just talk a little bit about it, but all this stuff was just of complete non-interest to her. That's not what this whole conversation is about, by the way. That's just one thing that happened. But there's a part of that I'll get to in a minute that kind of frustrates me because that's pretty pervasive out there. That kind of, whatever, I don't care. Somebody else will do it for me, and being completely ignorant to that kind of financial responsibility that people need to have. But beyond that, the conversation went to other things. And I had mentioned, we somehow got onto a conversation of knowing people who have died, like from high school or whatever, And or any other things. There was 3 of us actually in this conversation, and the one person was like, well, I know several people who have. The other person was like, well, I don't know anybody. Nobody I knew who ever, And I was like, well, I know some people who died, were murdered, suicide, all this stuff, murdered somebody. She's like, well, that's because you lived in Pittsburgh. Yeah, because I lived in Pittsburgh. That was the response.
What was that supposed to mean?
Exactly. I don't know. So within the conversation, this person has basically proven to me that she's completely irresponsible financially and willfully so, ignorantly so, because she doesn't want anything to do with it and wants just, her husband will take care of everything. You know what I mean? I have a husband who will take care of that stuff. And then I think, yes, the whole you're from Pittsburgh was a joke, of course. I didn't take any offense to it because I don't get offended by shit. But at the same time, I think there was a hint of ignorance in there where I think this person kind of believes something like that. Like, well, yeah, people in Pittsburgh are probably doing that kind of stuff because they're idiots. You know what I mean? I think there was a little bit of that belief in there.
There's always truth and sarcasm.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, all right. So my problem with this is not that I've taken any offense to any of this, but there's 2 things. One, the financial thing. There's so many people out there, and this bugs the fuck out of me that people cannot or are willfully ignorant to taking care of financial responsibilities. Whether it's saving, whether it's investing, whatever it is, real estate, whatever it is, to do something to take care of yourself financially. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck willfully, wasting, just throwing money away, that's completely irresponsible. And that's why people get into giant messes. That's why the country got into a fucking giant mess 10 years ago. That bothers me, right? That people are that ignorant. It bothers me, irritates me more. You know what I mean? Just irritates me that there are people out there. And I'll tell you why in a second. But the whole thing of the assuming like, oh, it's because you're from Pittsburgh, that kind of like little snarkiness to it. The problem I have with these 2 things is that these people have, there are plenty of these people out there, and these people vote. They share their opinions on more important matters that they think, and how am I supposed to listen to somebody who says these types of things? Because there's a lot of people out there like this, and kind of take what they say honestly and give it some sort of weight when I know how ignorant they can probably be. Do you know what I mean? To me, that shows a lot of ignorance, those 2 things. You know what I mean? And that's just those 2 things within a 20-minute conversation, 30-minute conversation, whatever. You know what I mean? How many other things are out there that this person is completely just like, whatever, like flippant about. But then whenever it comes to certain topics, I bet you this person has strong opinions about this, or, what's all in the news right now, gun control that, or Donald Trump this, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? What you pick, I'm sure there's some strong opinion about it. Like that person you were talking about earlier also. We'll talk about that later. But there was a person we were talking about before who you said has a lot of opinions but no facts to back it up. So how am I supposed to take somebody like that seriously?
Well, you don't.
Yeah.
Isn't that the simple answer?
I was about to say
that. I don't. But I mean, it frustrates me because there's so many people out there like that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
I know.
I kind of heard something, and I don't know how true this is, but at least from my experience too, in the American school system, I've heard that there's very little that's taught about financial responsibility. So I heard this on the radio, and it's somebody talking. So it seems like if you're not going to get it from, let's just say, the school system, if you're not, I'm saying, and that's a general statement, of course, then you got to get it from home. And if, you grow up in a family that doesn't have that, then it kind of makes sense. Then, all right, well, you're not getting it in the school, you're not getting it at home, so are you even surprised on the financial side?
No, and I'm irritated about that. That's that's how everything gets fucked. You know what I mean? And it's, I don't know.
Well, that's the society we're living in.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. It just kind of just something that just happened today, and I was a little bit like, this isn't.
Yeah, the
I gotta
Pittsburgh
think of this.
statement. That's kind of hard to, it's like.
Well, that's what we do there. You know, we kill each other and we commit suicide.
No, I'm
and
saying
we-
like the level of sarcasm, like it was a,
Well, that's
how
because you're
much
from Pittsburgh.
how much truth did she really mean?
I don't know,
you know.
but there's probably a hint of it there.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously she's never been there. You know,
Well, that's because LA doesn't have any type of crime or.
Well, I've been
Well,
there.
that-
You
but-
took me through your town.
and there was a lot of that,
And
right?
It seemed like every block that you were in, you would point out where someone killed themselves or killed someone.
Well, of course,
or
because I know people
or-
who did that,
just like
but it wasn't because I lived there.
drowned in the river. or-
Yeah,
yeah.
You'll see when
but it
people,
wasn't because I lived
Every
there
block.
that happened.
It's like
well, maybe that's it. Because when we
But
take people around LA, we don't
maybe
do that.
maybe you were offended because if it's true. You're like, wait, she's hitting too close to home now.
But I mean, that happens here. That happens there.
Yeah, it happens in a lot of
It
places.
happens everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't happen in LA.
There
Come
was, what it really was a hint of LA snarkiness. You know what I mean? Of a little bit of like, well, we're so good here in LA. We don't, I didn't have to deal with that, so nobody deals with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was more like that. Like,
Was this person born in LA? Born
Yeah.
and raised in LA?
Yeah. In the valley.
Yeah. In the
Yeah,
valley
in
too.
the valley. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That explains it all.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, like, then these people are out there voting. These people
But
are
didn't
out
we
there-
just do what she did?
How?
We just flipped it on her. Like, yeah, of course,
Well,
because
here's
she's from the valley.
that's
Yeah,
not
of
what-
course,
no.
of course she did that.
No, that's not what she did. No, because we have been to both places. You've been to Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh. We both have been here. You grew up here. I live here now. You live here now. She has only been here. You know what I mean? I
Yeah, and these are the people that are affecting policy with their votes.
yeah, that's what I mean. That's the thing that's fucked
I'm
up.
trying-
about
I'm trying to
it.
get to the
Bottom
essence
line,
of it.
Yeah,
Every
the
time
essence
you guys-
of it.
yeah.
The essence of it is these are the people that affect a lot of shit because there's a lot of people out there like that. You know what I mean? There's a lot, and that affects policy. That affects whoever gets voted in. All that kind of stuff.
I just realized when you guys are griping about something, I'm just trying to focus on what is this? What does it mean? Just get. I mean, what's it? How is it affecting you? And what's the bottom line here?
Well, I think that one affects everybody, but
Yeah.
I mean, in some way or another, eventually. But I just don't. I really have a problem with people that I don't understand. More like, and it irritates me that people don't understand financial stuff. It's so easy. You know what I mean? It's so not difficult
Well,
to
it,
not
it
fuck
may,
up.
It may be easy, but sometimes it's tedious too. And then
And so what that means is it's laziness.
yes, it's
Yeah.
laziness.
Laziness.
Yes. I mean, and that's concerning because finances. That's it's
very
a
important.
huge part. Yeah, it's something that you should
Well,
be careful about.
well, another
Pay attention to. more
Right, and
often.
another piece of information she said while she was doing this, she's like, well, we have an IRA, and there's like $40,000 in it, and then my husband has $1 million of his company stock, and that sounds good on the surface, but one stock, if you have $1 million of one stock, that's today maybe $1 million. Something happens to that company tomorrow, that could be worth
Nothing.
nothing. $50,000, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's the danger that people don't necessarily think of.
It just sounds like she likes to have the conversation to have an opportunity to boast about that number, but she's detached from the actual, the reality of what the husband's dealing with financially. She's benefiting.
I don't know if she was boasting. She was just basically just like kind of saying because I mean she didn't just come out right out and say it.
Do you ever
And I
hear
was
that?
like,
There's this thing people call like what is that? A humble brag.
humble brag?
Humble brag. You know?
Perhaps, but I didn't really take it that way. I was just like saying, you should probably just like maybe like invest in a 401k or a 403b, whatever, or your IRA. Just have something so you can like have something there. And she's like, well, we have an IRA and then my husband's stock.
How old is she? About
30s. I don't know exactly, in the 30s, low to mid.
So she should know. She should know better.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, like, I think everybody should know better by then, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those everyday things that kind of annoy me. You know, I mean, it's not going to affect me personally.
Until her vote, and then her friends vote, and then
bad financial decisions.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Exactly.
Or another market crash, right?
Well, how does that happen? How do you think that happens?
And that's
You know?
what you're saying, where people, are flippant about their finances,
Mhm.
and they don't really think about certain things before they make purchases or commit to credit, or it's
Yeah,
just-
and speaking of that, because people don't understand it very much, they kind of, I see a lot of kind of anger thrown at some of the, not necessarily the wrong things or people. Like you hear a lot of like anger thrown towards like oil company executives because they get big bonuses or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and they're oil company execs and they're bad.
You're talking about or also banking.
or banking
or banks.
Yeah. And obviously, I can understand there are good reasons to think, especially with banking, bank execs, and what happened with Wells Fargo and all that crap. But there's plenty of other people who are just as like, for instance, like, okay, like you know who Tim Cook is?
Apple.
Yeah, the Apple CEO.
Yeah.
Did you know that like about a month ago he got like $89 million bonus?
Wow.
No, but good for
About
him.
a month or two ago. Right? No, exactly. Good for him. But if that was an oil company, if that was the executive CEO of like Exxon or Chevron or whatever, you would more likely see that than Tim Cook. You know what I mean?
No, but
Because why though? You know what I mean? Like, what is it about Tim Cook that's safe that he gets $89 million, but the oil company executive?
I mean, this conversation makes me think not necessarily about the quantity and what industry necessarily. I think about the criticisms about, and I go back to banking because, when you hear about bank execs getting or giving themselves tremendous bonuses, especially years ago when there were bailouts. Basically, the financial institutions were in trouble, and in order for them to survive, the federal government had to had to intervene and give the banking industry money.
Right.
So that is a point where you would think there's no way these particular banks would be giving executives bonuses, large bonuses. And to me, that it does sound ridiculous that if they did get bonuses, and apparently they did. So to me, this is the bank execs.
Yeah.
These are the situations where it sounds absolutely ridiculous and wrong if our money, taxpayer money, being used in a bailout
To bail them out. Right.
to bail them out to basically survive and of course keep our economy from going under. And then you hear about during this time bank execs cashed out major bonuses.
Right, them. That's all slimy shit. And then the thing that happened with what is it, Equifax? Did you hear what that the credit breach or whatever last month?
Yeah, I heard something.
Yeah,
Well, did you hear
didn't they get a government contract after that too?
Well, no. What happened was, from what I didn't read too much about it, but from what I understand, Equifax, I think what they do, they like monitor credit and all that kind of crap.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
There was a breach, and like more than half the people in the country got like their information
yeah.
was stolen or spied on or whatever. But they knew about it. Equifax knew about it before they released the news, and before they released, like, I think it was like weeks before they released the news, and before they actually released the news that this happened, some of their executives sold like millions of dollars of the stock before they released the news. So it was like that insider trading thing,
Mm.
Yeah.
and then the CEO, I think, retired like a week later too, after all this shit went out. And it was all supposedly coincidence.
Yeah. Well, see, now, to me, there's two conversations happening here. I mean, the beginning it sounded like we're talking about the amount of money executives.
Well,
are getting paid.
we have kind of come to something different.
Yeah.
But my original point was some of these people are vilified, and I think for some of them, like the bank execs and other things, for good reason.
Yeah.
But
But if you're talking about Tim Cook, for example, because you brought his name up,
right,
if his company is making tons of money, and he's at the helm and steering that ship, I mean, if the company can afford it,
right. Well, but I mean, like people vilify like the Walton family, the Walmart family, whatever.
yeah.
Their company just makes a bunch of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that might go a little deeper into their
Like an
employment
empire.
practices. But it's their employment practice. Like, for example, it's not just, for example, you don't hear things about Apple employees necessarily being treated like shit and their benefits. But you do hear that about Walmart.
But is that well,
About wage
but,
issues
but I mean, do we know? Do you know anybody who worked at Walmart?
No, but don't they pay minimum wage? And
I don't know.
that's pretty
I'm
much
just
all
saying.
there
I don't know.
is. I don't even know. If
I-
they get-
I wouldn't be able to speak for them, so I don't know. I can't complain about how they're treated. I do know that people work there.
I know there's a
There's a
documentary on
lot
that,
of-
too.
Okay,
And
documentaries also are
Yeah.
often made with a certain point of view. Also, you know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
But there's a lot of people who work for Walmart. There's a lot of Walmarts out there. People shop there. You know what I mean? This is kind of almost like that guy. If they're shopping there, they're giving money and people working for them. And I mean, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if it was that bad, I think I'd probably hear a lot more, I guess, about it. And I don't, you know? And then there's the other thing. I mean, Walmart gets a stigma anyway, right? There's just that whole people who shop at Walmart kind of thing on the internet. Like there's this whole like, oh, Walmart equals white trash or something like that, or low life, or you know what I mean? That kind of like stigma to it.
Yeah.
Apple doesn't have that. Apple has the hipster, it has the whole it's cool vibe. You know what I mean? So
Just to
maybe it's the same situation as an employee, but since you work for the hip cool company, it's not viewed like that. You know what I mean? But if you were to side by side compare, how do we know it's that much different? Like I don't know. I don't know.
Well, this is what I know
but-
about. This is what I've heard. I'm saying no. This is what I've heard about Walmart too. They'll go into particular towns, and basically become they're the monster retailer.
Right. Kick out a mom and
and
pop.
they kill mom and pop. Now you can argue, hey, that's just that's commerce, right? That's just free commerce and capitalism.
Right.
You know, I mean, but I'm saying that I'm sure has a lot to do with the feelings towards Walmart too.
Right. Well,
It's not,
then-
there's
well,
a lot
then
of different things.
What I
so.
would say against to go against that would be Amazon does the same thing, even worse, and nobody says anything about what's his name, Jeff Bezos, who's the head of Walmart. I mean, Amazon. Yeah. Nobody talks. I mean, he's one of the richest guys in the country too. You know what I mean? Actually, the top richest guys in the country are all the cool guys. Zuckerberg for Facebook, Tim Cook's fucking Apple. You know, you got what's his name from Microsoft, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. Keep going down the list. The Google execs, freaking the guys who run Google. These are the biggest companies in the world, man.
Yeah, but I think-
Apple is like got the biggest market cap. It's almost $1 billion company.
I think
a
Francis-
$1 trillion company.
Francis made a good point. I think, those people don't get vilified because they're not the group that needed bailouts per se, and we can even talk about the LAUSD where the administration, they vote on their own raises when LAUSD is supposed to be, they need more money funding for schools and things like that, but then they have like these ridiculous salaries or bonuses. They always like have a certain raise they vote on every year, and it's always extravagant, whatever it is. It's that kind of thing that people get annoyed by or angry about, or it's that it's the bank executives getting themselves bonuses when they had a bailout. It's school districts that are giving themselves bonuses when their schools need funding. It's things like that. But people in Apple or Walmart or
let's just
talk
talk about
that much angst about those groups.
But even in the same
But
conversation
a
about
lot
salaries,
of people blanket the wealthy also.
it's like
Do you know
for
what I mean?
example,
there's a lot of hatred towards the super wealthy, and if you want to talk about just blanketing the super wealthy, those guys are part of it. You know what I mean? Those guys are the super wealthy, and there's always these blanket statements about the super wealthy. But then when you get into specific super wealthy, then they'll start veering towards those people,
Well-
which I understand some of them. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just like general statements, and overall, it's like general statements.
But if you're going to
of-
vilify the super wealthy, vilify all of them. If you want to go that route, I'm not going to vilify anybody if they're making money fairly and properly. And by the way, nobody makes a salary of 89 million. It's all stock. They just get a certain amount of stock. You know what I mean? They're not cashed. It's not a salary. In fact, some CEOs, I think their salary is only like $600,000 or $700,000. Everything, all their money, all their wealth is just stock from the company. And when you
but
take
if you sell, you cash out.
well, of course. But then again, it's like we talked about earlier, that could fall tomorrow too. There have been stories like, when Amazon about a month or so ago dropped like $100. So the head of Amazon, what's his name, Bezos, if whatever his stock was, he probably has billions of dollars in stock. He probably lost a couple billion. You know what I mean? Just based on the fact that the stock dropped so much. So their wealth fluctuates too, because it's not cash. It's wealth.
Can I ask a
On
question?
investment. What?
So, what was the point of this particular?
I don't know. It just veered into that.
Oh, okay.
And it was something that came off of my head because I just question that. I just question everybody like vilifies the super wealthy, but then nobody ever. I saw that Tim Cook got an $89 million bonus, but it was never mentioned like anywhere. Like you see those kind of things headlined in other places. I just never saw it anywhere, and I was like, that's interesting. He's a super wealthy guy. It's a bonus, $89 million in stock.
Yeah, if Apple,
which is good for him. I mean, that's great. And all that is, if you think about how much Apple is worth, almost $1 trillion. Like $89 million is less than 0.5%. You know what I mean? It's not when you balance that out. It's really not all that. It's people always say CEOs make so much more than the worker, and I get that. Like over the years, the CEOs of the gap between the CEO and the workers, like back in like the 70s was like 6 times the average worker, but now it's like 30 something times or 40 something times the average worker. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Have you heard those statistics? But then I look at it mathematically and I look at the entire value of the company, and I think, okay, if Apple's worth almost $1 trillion and he's getting $89 million, it's such a small percentage of the wealth of the company, and he runs it. I don't think that's unfair.
No, I don't think so either. It's like when you talk about athletes or actors and actresses. You talk about, did you hear so and so made X amount on that on that movie, or they got a deal for to play with this team for 5 years and millions. And my attitude towards that is when he asks, well, how much do you think they're worth? My answer is, well, whatever they can get.
Right, whatever they can get. It's
Yeah.
true. Because,
Whatever,
especially
how
with
much
athletes.
people are willing to pay them.
Yeah, if
there you go.
athletes aren't making that, then it goes directly to the owners, who are then just exploiting them. They're exploiting them anyway, but at least they're paying a lot to exploit them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, right, it's how much is somebody worth? Well, how much is somebody willing to pay?
Right.
That's just not like on the free market. Like, how much is this whatever device?
Yeah.
How
much is that guitar worth?
Yeah.
Well,
How much is somebody willing to pay?
yeah.
That's
the worth.
yeah.
So, I don't know. That was just
But it gets a little bit more. The conversation gets more colorful when you're talking about companies that have questionable business practices.
Well, of course, yeah.
So that's really what makes the headlines too.
Oh, of course, and that makes total sense. But you hear a lot of blanket wealthy people are bad statements, and I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't take any blanket statement. At face value.
Mm-hmm. And then, plus, not to mention, all of those companies have so much cash overseas.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
No, they do. It's known. Like
No, they don't.
like Apple has tons. Apple has the most. Apple has more than double anybody else cash overseas. How come nobody's bitching about them not paying taxes? You know what I mean? Because they're the cool company. They're the hip company.
And the manufacturing.
Yeah. It's kind of like get swept under the rug. It's
I
like
mean,
pick and
as a-
choose who to bitch and complain about,
Yeah.
which I don't think is fair. I don't think it's right. I think it's fine when they do whatever they want with their own money and whatever they, as long as they do pay whatever taxes they're supposed to. Everything's clean. Whatever they're expected to do, they do.
Yeah, I don't got any problem with
No, I don't.
big
whatever,
salaries.
man. I want one.
Yeah, man.
I mean, who the hell is going to turn it down? Who's going
Right.
to sit there and be like, nah.
It's like
That's
they
what I
say,
wanna
they say like big money will ruin you. Well, I'll tell you what, I will prove them wrong. Give me
right.
the opportunity, and I will prove you wrong.
Right. Yeah. I think I'd be a better person.
Or I should say, I'm willing to be the guinea pig.
Yeah. I hate all those things. More money, more problems.
Bullshit.
What else we got?
If that's happening to you, then you're bringing that on yourself.
Yeah. Money doesn't bring happiness. I hate stuff like that.
But that's been
Like-
proven. That's been kind of proven wrong because, not directly, maybe just because you have money doesn't mean you're happy. But what they've proven is that it buys you more time. You have more time to do things that you want to do, which ultimately
Makes you
can
happier.
be more happier.
Right?
Yeah. Like you can choose to do what you want to get. It's all about the time. The whole thing it came down to in the study was whether or not you had time. It didn't even come down to. It was even if you had like enough to live off of, as long as you had time.
Now, you know who would
then
argue
were
with you though?
ultimately more happy.
What about those music stars or pop stars that are being dragged from here to there because they need constantly be on tour to make that money, keep that machine happy? See, you don't have time. Then when they say when you go on tour, they've toured the world, and they say, "Well, I've only seen the inside of hotels."
Well, that's what I mean. They're not happy. That's the whole
Yeah.
point is that because they didn't have time. So the money that's actually proving it because they have all the money, but they didn't have all that time.
Well, I'm
able
saying
to
they
do
still
anything
don't
with
have. They still don't have time.
Right, and that's the big thing. It's the time that was the bigger issue of being happy, not the money. But money can buy you time. So
Just give me money.
I don't buy that anyways.
What?
When they say that I live in I live from hotel to hotel, and I don't really have time to do anything, and I'm miserable.
No.
I don't
The
buy that,
context
yeah.
of that is not necessarily fair to say. The context of that. I mean, the reality is that for a lot of people who tour, but I don't mean to make it sound like
depends on how they
unhappy.
tour, though. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're going on tour and they're constant, if they're playing if they're on the road for 8 months straight, and they're playing freaking 22 dates a month. That's
Yeah.
basically every day almost, like with a day here and there in
You
between.
get travel days and
That,
exactly.
That has to be exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not seeing much.
You've heard a lot of stories of major acts who have done that in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all the
And
bands
so that
I
was the
liked
reality, yeah.
when I was a kid, they would go on
Yeah.
tour like that. From Metallica
Yeah.
is a perfect example. They were on tour for 2 years straight, 1 year.
I can agree that it's exhausting, but wasn't that the one of the main? Isn't that the main purpose for why they got into it in the first place? To kind of hit that kind of level, to be at that level, to do.
It's one of the main reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, but
wanna play
it is work though. It's the best work you can find when you love playing, but it's still work.
Yeah, at some point, whatever you really love doing, if you're pursuing that as a profession, you still got to pay the bills. You still got to make income. You still got to try to find a way to keep increasing your income.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You still got to.
Still a business.
It's a business. So, and it's we play music, but there are times that you just don't feel like it, or you ain't feeling right. Something, whatever it is, and you got to do it. It's just sometimes that ain't fun, man.
Here's the thing. And sometimes it's not fun, but deep inside, I'm always grateful.
Yeah,
I'm grateful I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Or I should say I can do it.
right. Well, there are worse things to do. That's for sure. There are
yeah.
worse things
Hell
to do
yeah.
to get paid. Freaking $100 or $200 for 4 hours.
Wait,
There's a lot worse things.
wait. What? They only give me $10 to $20.
Oh shit!
Oh shit. We need to talk.
But you got a nice drive.
Someone's paying themselves a bonus.
Wait a minute, we're doing the same gigs here. And one time they just said, "Be glad you're here."
Yeah. Glad you're here.
Here's some water.
Here's some.
So anyway,
All right.
is that about it for this episode?
Yeah.
I wonder if we did better than the first one.
I don't know.
Should we reflect on the first one at all by any chance?
Nah. No
We
time to reflect.
We just talked too much on one section of it.
Exactly.
I think that very, very first one that we recorded, I'd like to hear that. I think that was the
No,
most.
don't tease anybody.
That was the
They're
most
not gonna hear.
organic one I think that we did.
You know what we'll do?
So far.
After we hit like episode 50 and we've got sponsorship and we've got like over 10,000 listeners a week, then we can just throw that out there as like a bone. Like, here's the original first episode.
Okay. In the meantime, we got to wrap. We'll wrap this up.
Okay.
It's over an hour.
All right. Beanies in Summer, episode 2. Rich.
Polo here. Didn't say much today, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
I don't know,
not?
why are you
so
shy or
quiet?
something?
I don't know. I like listening to what you guys were saying today. I was
Was it
more of a
interesting?
listener. Yes.
I'll tell you what. Next time, I'm not talking so much. I'm the engineer here. You need to be talking more.
So I think next time, Polo can be the quarterback.
There you go.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I'm all up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time is going to be a Polo episode.
All right.
All right.
All right. Later.
Peace.